Glad you could join us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. In May 2016, Lagos joined the League of Oil-Producing States in Nigeria. Lagos State's status of being the first outside of the Niger Delta to produce oil is also welcome, considering the positive impact it will make on the state, the people, and the country. So 3 years after that success story started, we look at what is going on in Badagry and, of course, what the people are saying about the oil exploration in the area. Please stay with us. Semako Tassignon, popularly known as Shokala, is a father of 5 and a fisherman in Berefo Island, one of the communities in Badagry, a coastal town and local government area in Lagos State, southwest Nigeria. He's one of the fisher folks here who have seen a decrease in their incomes in recent time. Few of them have no knowledge of the cause. Some believe the changes in weather pattern is responsible, but majority of them point at a new activity at sea.
Last year, no one caught fish at all. We do not know what caused it, but we guess it may be the fire from the gas which caused it. We are not certain, but the location is far from here and we cannot go to their workplace because the place is secured.
The fire Shokala is referring to is from the flares from the Aje gas and condensate field, which lies in oil mining lease 113 in the Benin Basin, approximately 24 kilometers offshore of western Nigeria. The water depth in the region is 3,000 feet. OML 113 was originally known as Oil Operating License 309 and was awarded to Yinka Folawiyo Petroleum in 1991 to encourage the growth of Nigerian oil industry. The authorities renewed the OML 113 license for a further period of 20 years in August 2018. Badagry is a calm town, but an interaction with locals reveals an underlying agitation. 65-year-old Rasaki Agosu has a lot disturbing him lately as he wonders where the next meal will come from. He has abandoned his regular trips to sea because he's not sure if the ocean would provide a bountiful supply of fresh fish.
The trade I learned is what I am engaged in. The fire has stopped us from fishing. And at my age, is it proper for me to beg before eating? This really infuriates those of us who are fishermen. When they came, they gave us some nets. Is that what will help us now? The money we were promised was never seen. They do not care about us anymore. And the fire is affecting us here at Agido.
Researchers say fish supply has been declining in Nigeria for the past 30 years. Unfortunately, the small-scale fisher folks are the ones who feel the impact the most. Many fishing communities across the country face the challenge of limited supply due to overexploitation, climate change, and environmental degradations by oil explorers. In the Niger Delta, oil spills, foreign vessels incursions, and bunkering, vandalization of pipelines were identified sources of depletion in fish catches from the wild. But the concern of the fisher folks in Badagry is mainly the flares. When told the weather pattern may be responsible, Pa Agosu gave a cutting retort.
The condition is the same in the rainy and dry seasons. Before now, our catch will fetch us between 7,000 and 10,000 naira when I go to sea alone. But now, it is very poor. To eat is even a real challenge, which is why I stopped going. At my age, I cannot afford to work in vain.
In 2016, Yinka Folawiyo Petroleum announced its first production of crude oil from the Aje field, the first producing field outside of the Niger Delta in Nigeria. Since the beginning of the production, the company says it has worked closely and in full transparency with all regulatory bodies, including the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. Applicable royalties and taxes due to the federal government are settled in due course and in accordance to the legislation in place, contributing positively to the country's budget and the Nigerian population's well-being. Its acting managing director says after decades of exploration, appraisal and developmental activities, it has been a daunting task achieving its success. He says the company will be proactive in its community engagement.
AGE is in a deep water environment, and as a result, under the regulatory laws and petroleum law, we do not have any host community.
The water is your community.
No, and also the government, the federal government. So we do not have any host community where in the deep water, about 600 meters, between 100 and 600 meters. So, but at the same time, we carried out what was called the Environmental Sensitivity Index, which was a prerequisite to us doing the environmental impact assessment. And as part of the ESI, what that does is it tells you, in case you can have a spill, what are the areas of, least impact and great impact, where once you have a spill, the fastest impact in the community. And based on the fingerprint of the model, it shows that Badagry will be our first impact, should in case we have a spill. I mean, touch wood, we haven't had anything of that nature. So as a result, we took it upon ourselves that since they will be the one that would have that first impact, we need to now proactively start engaging with them. So our CSR, corporate social responsibility, was tailored towards ensuring that Badagry community would be our first beneficiaries. And we set up, as a first instance, like a community engagement team. As part of the sensitivity index also, we recognize the fact that there are about 9 communities in Badagry. So we requested for each representative from that community, and maybe 2 from Badagry itself because of the size of Badagry. Then Minka Folaro Petroleum had 3 in that team, making a total of about 13. And this group of people had been meeting periodically with a view to interface, engage, and also notify them. We will notify them of what our plans are, community engagement plans are. The ones that we've already executed and the ones that we're planning.
While the communities closer to the oil field claim they welcome and appreciate oil exploration, saying it is a developmental economic activity in their area, they, however, also claim that they are already feeling its negative impact.
The challenges we are facing right now is that most of our fishermen are not really productive again because we don't know, maybe it's the effect of the production that is affecting the fishes, or maybe the fish also have leave this environment to elsewhere because of this thing. So those ones, one, our coconuts, you see that they are not producing as it's supposed to be. You will see that this is a kingdom that people used to come and buy fish, even from far Lagos. But it's not like that again. We believe it's part of this crude oil producing. Don't forget that West African gas pipeline too has been here about 10 years ago. Though, it is gas pipeline to West Coast, but they also fly gas here. So in the night, if you are not taking, you will just think that You know, everywhere, there will be lightning everywhere if they are flying their gas. Same happens to our people at the sea beach.
The discovery of oil in Lagos, long after the other oil-producing states, provide Lagos with an opportunity to learn from its peers and adopt strategies that mitigate against the negative economic, environmental, and social impact of extraction. The absence of a resource management strategy contributed to restiveness in the Niger Delta, environmental pollution, poverty, loss of life, and many more, which led to significant losses of resource revenues. The Nigerian Natural Resource Charter Framework, therefore, proposes economic principles that, if adopted, can be used to mitigate the negative effect of resource extraction.
So one of the key things that we're looking at is ensuring that there's trust between those people in those regions and the different players, so the federal government, the state government, and the oil company, to make sure that those in the communities understand very clearly what their rights are, what they can expect to get from the government or the other companies. There's a really good thing that Lagos State has actually done. They've created a committee in Badagry, the community that's closest to this facility, and they have established this to ensure that the needs and requirements and wants of those people in the communities are heard, and that they also manage the expectations of those in the communities. What you find in Niger Delta is that you have not a lot of communication. People have completely lost their faith and belief in the government, and they turn all their needs and their aggression towards the companies, which is not beneficial to Nigeria, because you have, as a result, agitation, vandalism, and then you have facilities being destroyed, and essentially the revenues that Nigeria could accrue are then diminished.
This intervention seeks to highlight the role of state in optimizing the benefits of resource extraction and mitigating the negative effect, such that successful adoption of the framework by the Lagos State government will give some traction and credibility for its adoption across the other oil-producing states. It will also ensure that Lagos State avoids the mistakes made by other oil-producing states not privy to the Natural Resource Charter Framework.
So what the Charter has done is they've segmented the issues into 12 different precepts. And it's basically, you know, things like accountability, transparency, the impact on the local community, how the resources should be managed, how you mitigate the challenges and the risks that are associated with exploitation of natural resources and things like that. And Nigeria has adopted to use this. However, it seems like we haven't done a particularly good job with it if we look at the issues around the Niger Delta at the moment.
The Human and Environmental Development Agenda started a process to develop a framework for the Natural Resource Charter adoption by Lagos State government. It had a survey in 5 coastal communities in Badagry. 91.43% of the people believe the environmental changes are due to the effect of oil exploration activities, although 14.29% of the people confirmed that some of the noticeable environmental issues do not affect their means of livelihood. 85.71% indicated that the oil exploration activities have started affecting their means of livelihood.
Realize that despite the fact that government had actually made effort to set up a committee that comprises of indigenes, inclusive of youth representatives, notable indigenes, some inclusive of some royal personalities as well, and government officials, as well as the oil-producing company. Our findings is that that committee, for some reason, has not been able to achieve its aim. I think the committee is a bit frustrated as well, because they are not getting the kind of committee. So they are in the middle. So the people are looking at them and thinking, oh, you people are now in bed with our oppressors, so to speak. And then the government is on the other side looking and thinking, why are we hearing voices of agitation on that end? People are not doing it. But the reality is that there's no system of account. And this is where we are really concerned. What we want is that it does not matter how little. It does not matter how huge. What matters is, what is the vision behind managing the oil resources of Lagos?
Most of the communities within Badagry local government area are riverine and have been suffering from infrastructure decay over the years. With the new status of an oil-producing area, they're expecting much both from the government and the oil-producing company. Nigeria has intense environmental degradation due to oil exploration. One of the major environmental problems in the Niger Delta region of Nigeria since the inception of oil exploration, exploitation, processing and transportation by the multinational oil companies has been that of oil spillage.
Well, if you look at what we've experienced in Nigeria so far, I keep coming back to the Niger Delta. It hasn't been a particularly great example of an area where oil exploitation has taken place. There's a lot of environmental degradation, social unrest, economic downturns. The kids in those areas aren't very well educated. 2001 things that one can look at and say, this was the cost of having that area exploited from its natural resource. But Lagos State could be a different story. It could be the chicken that lays, or the goose that lays the golden egg, and set a standard and an example that other states in Nigeria will follow, and more so, other states in Africa can look at this example of Lagos State if things are done properly and they get on board with the charter as quickly as possible.
According to the Fisheries and Aquaculture Department of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Nigeria had an estimated annual per capita fish consumption of 13.3 kilograms in 2013, which makes fish an important dietary element and one of the few sources of animal protein available to many Nigerians. By 2015, data showed that the nation's total fish production was just over 1 million tons, to which marine catches contributed 36%, inland water catches contributed 33%, and aquaculture 31%. From these catches, the country gets smoked fish for its exports. With little or no significant structures by the government, more than 80% of Nigeria's total domestic production is generated by artisanal small-scale fishers from coastal, inshore, creeks, lagoons, inland rivers and lakes. Many of the fishermen and women in these areas, including Badagry, a fishing hub in Lagos, now sit idle.
With what we are experiencing now with our farmers, both fishery and all our farmers, there should be compensation to them one way or the other. There should be compensation. When we talk about infrastructures, we talk about having a good clinic here. We have good roads. We have all our schools that are debilitated now should be looked into, and so on.
To be precise, October 13, 2016, where we, as part of shortlist and work done by this committee, they shortlisted 4 schools in Badagry. Ansarudin Grammar School, Topo Grammar School, Badagry Grammar School, and Methodist Grammar School in Badagry, where we went ahead to do some kind of refurbishment of their science laboratories.
With the discovery of Aje oil field, Lagos became the 11th oil-producing state in Nigeria. The discovery is expected to also boost the economy of Lagos, which currently generates internally about 29 billion naira every month. Geological studies indicate that the Dahomey Basin is a combination of inland, coastal, offshore basin that cuts across some West African countries, including Nigeria, as well as southeastern Ghana, Togo, and the Republic of Benin. Following the discovery of oil, the state government established the Ibile Oil and Gas Corporation, an indigenous firm to manage oil-related issues to ensure that the state remains in the business of oil and gas in the country. The Lagos State House of Assembly later passed a bill on the 12th of May 2013 establishing Ibile Oil and Gas Corporation, which was subsequently signed into law on the 11th of June 2013, authorizing the state government to invest and engage in oil and gas activities in the state.
The necessary environment and community engagement that we've been having, we've been very interactive and we've been very engaged and supporting with them. But we also want to flag you know, the fact that we're a private company, and we like to hold, you know, the state as part of a stakeholder, but at the same time, we want to really draw a bit of a line so that we see that we do things the way things are meant to be done, but we have a relationship. We're part of the Power Light Up Lagos scheme of the former governor, and I think programs like that, the current governor is willing to sustain it. I mean, so that it doesn't just stop, you know, under the last administration.
In recent time, the residents of Badagry have protested the deplorable state of the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, the Nigerian section of the Trans-West African Coastal Highway, which connects Lagos in Nigeria with Dakar in Senegal. The extensive reconstruction of the Lagos portion of the 61-kilometer 10-lane expressway began in 2010, but lingering funding problems have stalled its completion. There are so much lost opportunities for entrepreneurship in the heavily populated Lagos because of the state of the Lagos-Badagry road. Tourism and roadside commerce in a linear town like Badagry are lost. The transport sector is hampered, just as the environmental sector also suffers.
Engagement is very important. We tend to take those things for granted. Generally, people want to feel that they're heard and they're listened to, and then you take action. So you let them know the limits. So they're asking for things like, or they have malaise, so they have ills that are coming up on them, right? But some things that they're actually claiming don't have any connection, may not have any connection to the oil and gas issues, but because there's no engagement, they can attach everything to this oil exploitation. So simple communication, getting some infrastructure in Badagry so they can see some meaningful development, unlike the issues that are always raised by the Niger Delta as not having commensurate development in their regions, even though there's a lot of resources that are extracted from that region.
The environmental impact assessment, I believe, was done many, many years ago. A lot of people in Badagry can't even remember, because this was done when on the onset of exploration. I'm sure there are ways in which this document can be broken down into simple, understandable nuggets, whereby, you know, an average person on the street in Badagry should be able to understand what the findings were. Now everybody's saying that, you know, the fish are dying, their crops are not producing. But where were we when the EIA was done? Were things perfect or were things not so perfect? But so if you don't know what the ground level was, it's not very easy to manage or measure how bad things have gotten or how stable things are.
The Natural Resource Charter says that the generally held view that natural resources are more of a curse than a blessing to resource-rich countries or entities is not inevitable only if sustainable resource governance principles are adhered to or implemented by resource-rich countries or entities. The NRC says its study shows that countries in Africa implementing its framework generally fare better in economic and social terms than those not implementing the resource management precepts of its framework. History has shown that wherever oil is discovered, there are often major challenges to development and all sorts of grappling issues in host communities and its environs, especially if poorly managed. Experts are urging the Lagos State government to take the necessary steps now to avoid those pitfalls and chart a path that will encourage other states to improve their fiscal responsibility and resource management. That's our program for the day. Thank you for watching. Our inbox, edfile@channelstv.com, is available for your comments and questions. You can also view this episode and other episodes of the program by visiting our YouTube channel, youtube.com/channelsweb. Do click the playlist menu and then click S-File. From me, Ayola Kasim, and the S-File crew here in Lagos. It's bye for now.